welcome. We'll get started in another minute here. I just want to make sure that everyone gets their audio set up. They can hear me. I want to welcome you all. Today's session is going to be on the required staff flu vaccination reporting. So go ahead and get situated, make sure your audio is working. Find the chat. I'm going to ask a couple questions in the chat. I'll be putting some links in the chat. So make sure that you have that pulled up as well. We'll get started in just 1 second. Okay. All right, so today we are talking about the NHSN flu reporting for staff. It is the vaccination reporting. Wanted to share really quick the memo that I just saw came out this morning. So those of you who have NHSN access might have seen this come through. So what I have up on the screen is an email notice that they sent. And it says again at the top which types of facilities the sort of notice or memo applies to. And skilled nursing facilities is on here. So that's what you kind of want to look for. And so this is deadline reminders for the CMS quality reporting programs. So that's what this is required for. What I do is I skip down to the section for SNFs, and it says they're going to be pulling the Q4 of the weekly healthcare personnel COVID-19 vaccination summary data, and then also the flu annual healthcare personnel influenza vaccination summary data. And so those are the two things that they're going to pull, and the deadline here is May 15th. So that's the notice that's reminding you that this deadline is approaching. So just wanted to share that really quick. I am going to now switch over to my browser here. And I am going to show you really quick that these rates are posted publicly. So this is Care Compare, and I just pulled up a random nursing home, not in any of Intelligence states that we cover. But I pulled up a random nursing home, and the place that you find it is in the quality measures section. And then if you go to short stay, and you expand short stay, and go down here, there is percentage of healthcare personnel who got a flu shot for the current season. So it does post publicly what your rate is. So it's a good idea to make sure that you get the data in, get it in as accurate as possible. And you want those numbers as good as you can get them. Next, I will show you that we do have a resource page. I'll put this into the chat here. We have a resource page for NHSN. And on this page is a section for the NHSN flu vaccination reporting. It's a guidance document. And I've opened it up here. And so this can help you with some screenshots on how you navigate through this. The main piece, this is kind of how you make sure that you have the right access and things like that. The main piece is that you have to have access to this special section of NHSN. So I will show you that live. So I will go to my NHSN page. So I am logged in, and feel free, if you want, you're on your computer right now, feel free to open up your browser, take a look at this right now while we're on. When you click on your NHSN reporting, you will pause on this page, and mine's going to look a tiny bit different than yours. But when you stop here and do select component, you should have two components, one for long-term care facility, that's where you report all your COVID data, and one for healthcare personnel safety. So those are the two that you should have. The flu reporting is in the healthcare personnel safety component. So it is not where you report your COVID data in the long-term care facility component. It is in this other one. If you do not have access to this one, there could be other users at your building who do. And there's also other people at your building who potentially could give you access, grant you access to this. So those are some possibilities. If you've had a lot of turnover lately, there are still other ways that you could potentially get this access as well. So we just have to work through that. Bear in mind that if that's the case, it can take a couple days for you to get the correct access. So it is a good thing to check as soon as possible to see whether you have this healthcare personnel safety component. Quick kind of poll or show of hands in the chat. How many of you guys have already reported this staph flu vaccination data? Just go ahead and put into chat whether you have or haven't yet. Just curious to see. Deadline's not until May 15th, so you're a little bit ahead. You still have a little time. Okay. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of people who have not yet. So this is for you guys. This is, go ahead and make sure that you have this component. Let's work on this piece first. I'm going to show you how to do it. So if you do have access to this component, or somebody in your building does, maybe it's your primary NHSN reporter, when they click into this component, they'll select their facility. I'm going to go into a sort of test fake facility. It will look quite similar. On the left-hand side, you will have a tab that says vaccination summary. But when you click on it, it says annual vaccination flu summary. And if you haven't done your report yet, you will just add a new one. So you'll add this page. It's kind of a weird interstitial page. You can just hit continue. And then this pulls up the vaccination form that you have to complete. This is what's due by May 15th. You will select the flu season. It's a drop down, so it's 23-24. And then you have these this section to complete. So here's the data that you have to get together, and hopefully you have record of this somewhere that you can obtain this fairly easily. So this is number of healthcare personnel who worked at the facility for at least one day between October 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. So at least one day, that means any part of one day. So even if they only work for a couple hours on one day, that counts. That's your denominator. And then it's going to ask sort of numerator questions. So of that number, that total, how many of those people got the flu vaccine at the facility? And then the number of staff who got the flu vaccine outside the facility, but they can provide written report or documentation. So for NHSN purposes, this written documentation can mean a plethora of things. It could be a signed attestation, an email even that says where they got it, when they got it. It could be a receipt. It could obviously be their immunization record. It's kind of open, but NHSN does want some sort of documentation that they got it somewhere else. Then staff who have had a medical contraindication for the flu vaccine, people who declined to get the flu vaccine, and then unknown vaccination status. So anybody who doesn't fall into these other categories, you can put here. However, I will tell you that I would recommend you try to get as many people out of this category and into one of these other categories as you can. I don't think that it will look very great if you have a ton of people just with unknown vaccination status. So if you can find out one way or another, whether they got it or not, that would be best. And then similar to your COVID vaccination data, you do have to break it down a little bit into employees. Then you have your like doctors, physicians, etc., and then adult students, trainees, volunteers. And when it says adult students, trainees, and volunteers, those are people who are over the age of 18 and older. So that's what those fall into. And then this other contract personnel for the flu data is not required. So you do not have to complete that. You have to just include these three categories. Any questions on this form? Feel free to unmute, or you can pop it into chat. We have, 20 more minutes. So if you have a question, I'm happy to kind of go over this again. I know this is,
I'm sorry. I joined
no,
a little
go ahead.
late. I do apologize. Just wanting to know when this starts.
You can report this anytime you'd like. You can report it. Yeah. I typically tell people, you might as well wait till right after the flu season ends, March 31st. Obviously we're past that window. You technically could report it earlier than that. So some people like to report in the fall after they've done their big vaccination clinic, and they can put in numbers, but then they just have to remember to go back in later and update their numbers.
Once a weekly?
No, this is for the whole season. So for the whole October 1st to March 31st flu season. That's what this is. And it's just a one-time thing. Once a year, you have to do this one. Any other questions on this? I've had people ask me, where did the residents go? Residents for flu, they go into your MDS. That's where they've been going. Just the flu vaccinations for your residents are MDS based. Okay, I will temporarily move on, but I will have this window open, so if I need to go back to it, I can. No biggie. Let's see, what else was I going to share with you? Let's see. Has anybody tried logging in, and do they have that healthcare personnel safety component? Go ahead and put that into chat. Do you have this one? I'd just like to get a pulse on how many of you guys have the access to this one. Do you guys have the healthcare personnel safety? Lindsay says she has it. That's wonderful. Anybody else? Are you able to check really quick? I know it takes a minute to log in sometimes, but that is step one. If you have access to that, you can put that report in, which is great. That's half the battle. If you don't have access to that one, then there could be a couple steps, and the couple steps could mean, someone just has to give you the right rights. That's pretty immediate. Or it could mean we have to submit a form to NHSN, and they would take a couple days and update their records, and then you could have access to it. So this is definitely a plan ahead situation. Start gathering the data as soon as you can. Because you know what it is, it's the denominator, anybody who worked in the building, and then kind of their status. So I would recommend to do those two things, is work on getting this component and then gathering the data. And then you should be able to meet that May 15th deadline. Another piece I wanted to show you, if you need help getting the data collected, maybe you don't have the access right now, there is a website for NHSN, and there is a form. Let me see if I can find it here. So here is a form. Let me open this guy. And then I'll share it. So this form is basically the same thing. So if you need to print out some sort of form to start collecting your data, you can print this form out, and that will give you the kind of the same fields that you have to enter. So if you want to start collecting your data before you even have access, and you want to make sure that you have the right categories and everything like that, you can print this form out and start collecting that. Some places it's really easy for them to pull this because their HR has all this info. And other people, you're going to have to, send out a staff-wide ping and find out for some people whether they got it, where they got it, things like that. So definitely get going on this as soon as you can. Find out everyone's status for the flu vaccine. Okay, let me see what I want to share next. I will go back to this. So going back to this, I've had some people in the past ask me, let me see if I can go back into my NHSN. I've had some people in the past ask me, I've reported the flu already. Does that count? I question that and see if perhaps they reported this and think that that counts, but that is only for residents and it's optional. So if you report your COVID-19 vaccines for your staff and your residents, and then you do this influenza RSV optional tab, that's not what this requirement is, and that does not satisfy it. We're talking about staff influenza vaccines. So, and that form clearly looks quite different than this form. So just know that if you're doing stuff in your COVID, where you report your COVID data, that is not going to meet that requirement. And then back to the email that I had shared at the beginning for the quality reporting program, they are also pulling your, let's see, it says Q4 of weekly healthcare personnel COVID-19 data. So they're going to also look at that. So you could always go back and look at Q4 of 2023 and make sure that you have all your COVID-19 data for your staff in there for the vaccinations. So they're going to look at both for your staff. Do you have any questions on that? Do you have any questions about this in general? Maybe it's not something I particularly touched on, but do you have questions about this? Is this coming out of left field? Do you feel panicked? Let me know what's going on. And you can unmute or you can put it into chat. Happy to address either way. Is there anything that you want? I can share this link. This is the printable form if you want to start collecting that data. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys want me to put into chat. Again, if you don't have that healthcare personnel safety component, that is step number 1. We should start working on that as soon as possible. So let me put my email into the chat because you can reach out to me. Let me know if there are other people at your building who have access, or they might not be at your building. They could be at a corporate level. Let me know who else might have access at your building, or have them look and see if they have that healthcare personnel safety component. Anybody who does can submit the report. If you gather the numbers, anybody who has access to that could submit that. And yes, we can send that printable form in our follow-up email if that link isn't working for you. What it does when you click on that link, just so you know, is it automatically downloads something. So you should check your downloads folder, because that clicking on that link automatically downloads that guy. I'm glad that works for you, Ellen. Yeah, just take a peek in your downloads and see if that number and form document is in there, and you should be able to get it. Okay. Oh, I was also going to tell you that I am actually on PTO next week. I will be out of the office all next week. And I am sort of your NHSN expert at Telegen. So that does put us close to that deadline. So if you guys do not have access, or you need to check with whoever does the reporting in your building, see if they have access to that component. If they don't, have them reach out to me as soon as possible. And we can start working on the process this week. And then obviously, when I'm back on May 6th, I'm happy to assist people as often as possible. I think the whole nation is going to be scrambling a little bit. So kind of the lead times on getting things processed through NHSN can take a little bit of time. So if we do have to submit a request to them, it could take a little bit longer than normal. So just plan ahead. Any other questions, comments, concerns? What keeps you up at night about this? Anything? Is this the first you've heard about it? We will be doing another session covering the exact same thing this Thursday. So for our nursing home quality essentials session on Thursday, it'll be this exact same event. It'll be me. So if you do have someone else in your building who reports for NHSN and you want them to hear this info, go ahead and invite them to the Thursday one, because it'll be me. If you feel like you got this in hand, you know what you're doing, you don't have to attend on Thursday. It's going to be kind of a free half an hour back in your day. Okay, Valerie, I see what you put into chat. You're trying to get access to NHSN, it sounds like, and it's been almost a week and you haven't heard anything back. So Valerie, please send me an email. I put my email a couple chats back. Please send me an email. Getting access to NHSN should never take more than a few days, business days. If it takes longer than that, something's gone awry and you should reach out to me, because I've had people get access in as little as 1 business day. So if it takes a lot longer than that, there's an issue. So we'll have to kind of troubleshoot where you landed in the steps. Any other questions? Because I know this NHSN reporting stuff is challenging. I know it's stressful. The penalties are fairly steep. And I know so often this reporting is sort of passed down to you. It's kind of an inherited task from people who've left, and maybe they gave you a very quick orientation or no orientation. By all means, reach out to me, or have whoever does the reporting reach out to me. I know a lot of people, this keeps them up at night because they're not sure if they, entered their data in on the right day, the right time, and they stress out about it. I have facilities who previous people have told them they have to report every single day. That's not true. So I am happy to go over these things with you. So I don't want you guys to have extra work or more stress than you need. Any other questions? I'm in NHSN, so if you guys want me to show you something in there, I can also show you pieces of NHSN. And again, keep reporting your COVID-19 data every week, your pathway data, and then your weekly vaccination data. Make sure you do that. Anything optional is optional. So I know that on the summary data or on the pathway data, there's an optional section as well. There's this influenza RSV cases. That's optional. You don't have to report that. And same with the vaccination, influenza and RSV for residents. That's optional. Any other questions? Okay. Well, again, let me put my email into the chat. Reach out to me. I'm available the rest of this week. We'll get the process going. We'll make sure that you have access to what you need. Any other questions that pop into your brain, you can ask me. but let's definitely connect sooner rather than later. Again, I'm out of the office all next week, but then I'll be back on May 6th. But please don't wait until close to the deadline and try to get access, because you might not make the deadline. So sooner the better. Other than that, if you guys do not have any other questions, I am not a fan of wasting anyone's time. So if you'd like a few minutes back in your day, you are free to jump off. I will stay on for the next couple minutes, and if there is a lingering question or someone wants to ask something, I will stay on for a couple more minutes. But by all means, if you guys don't have any questions, if this feels straightforward to you, I'd say go ahead and continue on about your day. Email me, let me know what you need. And if you're jumping off, have a wonderful day.